Hello and welcome back to Swinging at Shins, a Premier League podcast from across the pond. I am Rhett Conaway, and I am joined, as always, by Aaron Slater. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It's nice and snowy outside, and it's very picturesque. How about you?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Upstate New York right now, beautiful. Feel bad for the people who have to plow, but
Yep.
that's where we're at. All
Also,
right, no, go for it.
I was gonna say thank the people who are plowing. They don't get enough credit. They always get berated for not plowing enough.
That is true. They get berated for not plowing. I'm actually going to open the curtains a bit because there's no sun. See some of the beautiful snow.
Yeah.
All right. This is our match day 21 episode in review.
Yes,
So let's just get right into it. Arsenal and Manchester United has lived up to its billing for the first time in years.
So good.
Game of the season so far for you?
I don't see how it's not.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, there's a couple. I think the Newcastle Man City 3-3 draw has to be up there, but
Yeah.
this had everything. And when it's Arsenal and Man United, it's a little bit special. The Premier League was kind of born into this, but anyway, Arsenal now have 50 points halfway through the season, which puts them on pace to match the record and become Centurions. Will they do it? We're going to talk about that. Speaking of things that did not live up to the billing, kind of the rest of the match week.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Chelsea, boring. Mudryk looked good for Chelsea, so I guess there's something there. But it was one of 3 0-0 draws, including Leeds and Brentford and Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. Newcastle seems to kind of be falling off.
We'll see.
Speaking of falling off, Everton have sacked Lampard after a 2-0 defeat to West Ham.
Yep.
And they're being put up for sale, or they're not. I don't know. No one knows what's going on in the Everton camp anymore, including the people who run Everton. Villa continue their march up the Premier League table. They are 1 point off of Liverpool and Chelsea.
Yeah. Pretty ecstatic, actually. The 3 points from the top 6.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. If someone had told me that at the end of January, that's where they would be. I don't know what I would. Does that make them 5th? I don't know. Like, things are crazy right now.
Loving it.
Man City handled a rare hot starting Spurs team with 4 second-half goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't remember, I think the Spurs was a makeup game, and Wolves was technically the match day 21 game, but either way, Erling Haaland hat-trick, Wolves 3-0 defeat. No one's very surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
He is now the quickest player to reach 4 hat-tricks in Premier League history, and one of only 3 players to do it in one campaign, the other 2 being Shearer and Kane. So, bottom half of the table remains tight. 3 points separate 14th from 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it for the wrap-up.
Yep.
You're listening to Swinging at Shins. It's a Premier League podcast and proud member of the Wicked Good Sports family. For more from Wicked Good Sports, including our team-specific shows, The Way West Stand, all about the Arsenal, and the Villa, you get no points for guessing who that's about. Please visit all the links below. Anyway, let's get right into it. Match of the season so far, Arsenal Man United finished up 3-2 with a 90th minute winner off the foot of Eddie Nketiah. I don't know. I've been singing your defense is in trouble, Nketiah in the room. Just constantly. As always with Arsenal, I'm going to have you start.
I think that who's the equipment manager should get a shout out for Nketiah's boot stud size. I think that's exactly what he needed. No, this game was awesome. This is one of those kind of games where, again, if you're trying to introduce people to the Premier League, this is the game that goes on. It had everything you needed. It had a good amount of goals. It had quick fire goals. It had a VAR special every now and then. It
had a lot of fouls, a lot of tough fouls.
Yeah. It
had worked team goals. It had absolute screamers.
Yep. there was that always built up anticipation. Like it was just it was the right anxiety kind of deal. It was just a very good. I was even just watching the highlights and I was getting amped up about it. I was like, this was a really good game.
It was a match played on a knife edge.
Yeah.
You felt like at any moment anything could happen.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, to your point, that Rashford goal kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was a worldy, outside of the foot, curled around everybody and snuck in the post. And you're just like, oh, this is the game is going to be. All right.
Well, I think I was going to bring this up, and I'm glad you jumped into this, the first goal, because when I was listening to that match, the fans immediately started chanting. Arsenal fans immediately trying to get their team back up. It was, it's that kind of atmosphere for Arsenal this year, and it definitely shows that there's something special going on this year.
Yeah, they immediately looked. You know how they always do this. They show the celebrating team, and then they cut right to the team that just got scored on, like always.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, it was kind of funny. It was almost like a bunch of sergeants all yelling, and there's no privates around. Everyone was trying to get everyone else to focus.
I saw that.
Like everyone was, but it's that kind of level. I mean, it happened after not after, but it happened to start the second half against Tottenham, I believe, where Arsenal went out onto the field and huddled, and you just at that point, I think what I'm trying to say is, and I'm gonna steal from Tim Howard because he said it better than I did on the Two Robbies podcast. This team does not blink ever, which is amazing because it's the youngest team in the Premier League, and they blinked a lot last year, and I guess they just learned how to not do it anymore. I don't know if they have bought into the Mikel Arteta stuff. Do they all have tattoos that have passion and energy? I don't I love it. I'll get one if that's what it takes. But you saw that, and there's so many times, and it even happened to me. Shit, it's 1-0 already. It's Man United. We've had the run of play. We're down 1-0, and this is it. We're gonna be broken. And then you saw the players do that, and you're like, no, we're fine. And it was 5 minutes later.
Yep.
Which was a beautifully worked goal. And for Eddie to be where he was, just talk about having that killer instinct. Oh my God. That was just I'm gonna beat my guy. Now, granted, it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and yes, he turned off, which is why it was uncontested. But man, he wanted that goal. Holy crap! Yeah,
he did some actually not a neat technique, but it was very discreet in the way that he did it. He cut into the box, and then he kind of trailed out and then out and around to really throw Wan-Bissaka off. And I think that's really I don't think Wan-Bissaka turned off. I just think he just lost where his man went.
Well, it looked to me like he did a bit because you had the Zinchenko and Odegaard in the middle.
Yeah.
And the obvious pass to make would be a 1-2 once it hit Odegaard's feet. And he even looked and acted like he was going to do it. And then he just stopped and turned the ball around to a overlapping Xhaka. And I, as being a defender, I've been in that situation where ball's coming this way. No, it's not. And then by the time you go, ball is coming this way now in a place you didn't think it was going to be coming from, to a place where you don't think it's going, but the guy who's incredibly hungry for goals is right there. And you're stuck flat-footed going, crap.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
He had one in him. He was been playing well for the last few games that
he's been playing very well.
AWB has been playing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. He's also been playing very well.
Yep.
We're going to get to it, and I know I'm jumping to the last goal. I'm not really blaming Wan-Bissaka for keeping Eddie on for the last goal. That's not his fault. Like, yes, he was the defender who was back, but you're not thinking about trying to do an offside trap at all at that point.
You're not even trying to get back. You're just kind of like, okay, well, it's not here anymore. I don't need I should, and he was making the motion to go back on, clear people off onside, but it was just it happened so fast that
It was
it wouldn't have
It was
mattered.
quick. It was speed. Manchester United's second goal, rare mistake, I would say, by Ramsdale. I don't know. I think he got tangled up with Tomiyasu,
It was Tomiyasu.
and he just did not get enough on it. Tried to punch it, ended up just kind of palming it right down to the ground in front of everybody. Lisandro Martinez, the perfect header. And I say it's a perfect header because Big Gabby got so close to clearing it.
It skimmed the top of his noodle. Maybe if he had hair,
it
could have like got stuck there. And it would
he
have
had perfect Arteta Lego hair. It would have bounced out. Yeah, no. Well, it glanced off the top of his head and then actually hit the crossbar in just the very top of the roof of the netting. I mean, it was so close. It was so close. It's one of those where when you watch the highlights, even though you know he scores, you still think he's going to clear it, and he just doesn't.
Yep.
And then the last 20 minutes, it reminded me a lot of the Newcastle match. That's how the Newcastle match ended. Where you're just like, Arsenal's got to score. They got to finally score. They're gonna finally score, and it didn't happen. The last 20 minutes of this, it was kind of starting to feel the same way, but then they made it happen.
Only by a couple studs, but yeah, no,
Zinchenko's so good.
The run of play was definitely for Arsenal, and I think Ten Hag would have been more than happy to take the point if that's what it came to.
If I was Ten Hag and my team showed up and played like this, I'd be more than happy to take the point.
Yeah.
Because let's get into it. Goal philosophy has the expected goals at 2.68 to 0.39. Thought Mob had it even worse. They had Arsenal over 3 and Man United at 0.33.
Okay.
It was a highly it had that energy and it had that knife edge because anything can happen and goals can be scored. And right now, Rashford's the type of guy that, like, if he's on the pitch, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Of course, Saka's kind of doing the same thing. That Saka goal, I thought it was I was like, what a wasted shot. Oh my God, it's in.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. It's one of those. No, you said it exactly how I need to say it. It was perfect.
It's just it was absolutely amazing. But when you get into the underlying numbers of this game, Arsenal had almost 20% more possession, more shots on target, a lot more shots. They had more touches, they had more passes, even on tackles. They had 3 times as many corners. They were caught offside once. They only had 1 yellow card, and they had 1 less foul. The only thing that Man United, from a statistical standpoint, beat Arsenal on in this match was clearances. They had 36 to Arsenal's 10.
Well, they did have to do a lot of booting away.
Yeah, this match I don't think was ever really that close, and I think if United gets out of the Emirates with a point, they're seen. They used to say they would call it a robbery.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it felt like. You don't deserve it, but you did it, and you got Rashford deserved it, but I don't know if anyone else did. I also don't necessarily know if Casemiro would have made that much of a difference.
I was going to ask you if he would have changed it for you guys, or for Man U anyway.
It would have been a different game, and I do think it would have been closer. Someone asked this, I think it was the Sky Sports guys, who's the better defensive midfielder right now, Partey or Casemiro? I think they do slightly different things. And if we're asking right now, it's a hard question. But over their careers, 100% Casemiro.
I'm still taking Casemiro right now.
I think he's getting a ton of credit at Man United.
Yep.
That belongs with guys like Martinez. Also guys like I'll even say Bruno Fernandes, and especially Ten Hag. But he's not doing nothing. He's coming from a place that habitually won, and he's absolutely fantastic. I have no problem with anyone who say they take Casemiro. However, when you look at how overwhelming Arsenal was, one guy cannot fix that. And we're going to get into the whole one-guy mentality when we talk about our next match, because I think that's part of a certain team's if you could even say problem. But to end out, heavy air quotes on this. To end out on this amazing match, by the way, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, I go in depth on it in the Way West stand on Wiki Good Sports.
That guy.
NBC says Arsenal's 3-2 win over Manchester United on Sunday is the most watched Premier League match in U.S. history with 1.92 million viewers across NBC. This was an 11:30 match that overlapped, I believe, for only a couple minutes, but overlapped with playoff football.
Yep.
This is a playoff football Sunday at 11:30 in the morning. 1.92 million viewers across America watched NBC or Peacock or NBC digital platforms or whatever. Telemundo also had 382,000 viewers. So that's over 2 million people in the United States watch this game. It's getting bigger, guys.
Good.
It's getting bigger. Now, when most Americans found out about the Premier League, the two best teams in the world were Arsenal and Man United. So they probably have the biggest fan base. Well, I'll tell you, it's a lot of days it feels like Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, Chelsea still is always around and still had their run of time. So it's not like.
Well, when Abramovich came in and then they had Marino in 04, 05, absolutely. And they were the hot thing. And Americans have the screw you mentality ingrained into us. So who do you like? Oh, what's their rivals? Good. I'm going to root for them. I mean, St. Louis is full of Tottenham fans. You know it is. Ever since the Kroenkes forced the Rams out, you know it's just Tottenham fans galore out there. Anyway, on to the match that happened right after we put out our podcast last week. Man City, Tottenham, 4-2. I'm going to get this out of the way right away. I wanted Tottenham to lose. That's not the same as Man City winning. And even when Tottenham were up 2-0 and we could open up this huge gap, I still wanted Tottenham to lose. And anyone who didn't, sorry, going to go back to the last game at the Beer Garden. There were multiple Man City fans.
Yeah.
Going back to air quotes with this, that were rooting for Man United. That is disgusting. Don't do that. That is absolutely disgusting. Anyway, Spurs had two very cheeky, very dirty, very quick goals to end out the second half.
Yep.
It was 2-0 in the blink of an eye, and it wasn't even like 2-0 and I can't believe what I've seen. It was almost like 2-0 and wait, what the hell just happened?
It was strange.
And then City came out in the second half and did City things.
I can only imagine what that halftime talk would have been from Pep, too.
I got it.
Go for it.
Well, lads, it's Tottenham. And then that's it.
And then slap ass on the way out.
And then shines his head and walks in. I don't fucking know. I mean, what else? This is a Tottenham team that right now is on the decline and a City team that can do this to literally anybody.
Yep.
I don't think anyone was that surprised. Everyone is talking about, their halftime. I mean, some people, it was like they won the league that night. When City finally catch Arsenal, you're going to look back at this night. It's like, it's Tottenham. They bottle it. We know this. The only team they don't bottle against is Chelsea.
Yeah, well, I don't know. City need to still show that they're the dominant force against. I understand that Tottenham they're sitting fifth in the table. But it's like, I don't know, this year's weird. Everybody just seems weaker, dare I say, than normal. It seems more open this year. There's a lot more parity going on than normal.
You know what? You just something's been tickling my brain, and I'm gonna go look at this right now. But while we're doing that, you had a thoughts you wanted to expand on from a Tifo video that came out?
Yeah, so I actually didn't watch this Tifo video because I wanted to come up with my own stance, and then I want to watch the Tifo video, see if, is it TJ Bull and I have the same thought process. Anyway, the video that they put out, which you guys should watch, they're very good at breaking down soccer in general. Has Haaland made City worse? I think in some points of their game, he has made them worse. As far as like the way that they previously pressed goalkeepers and defenders, I don't think you see them do that quite as much anymore. I don't think Haaland is as willing to press the back line as, like a Sergio Aguero when they had him, or even when they had the rotating cast of strikers where it was Raheem Sterling or Phil Foden up top or somebody like that. I think that Haaland is just I want to score goals. I'll have to press if I have to, if Pep tells me to, but other than that, I'm not going to go out of my way to really press. It's more of an efficiency thing at this point, not so much a does he make them bad. So
I have some different thoughts on it. I think that everyone is talking about Haaland because Haaland is this big thing. And Haaland came in and Haaland scores all these goals, and Man City isn't top of the league. I have a couple thoughts on this. Number one, and this is going to lead into what we were talking about. The 2020-21 season, after 19 rounds, Man City was leading with 41 points. Manchester United had 40. Leicester had 38. Spurs had 36.
Mm-hmm.
The 2022, after 19 rounds, I understand some teams have played 20. It's just I'm using 19 because the team on top right now with the most points has played 19. That's my logic. Man City had 47. Liverpool were in second with 44. Chelsea had 41. Arsenal had 35. This year, after 19 or 20 rounds, Arsenal have 50. Man City have 45. Newcastle have 39. Man United have 39. I do not think this is actually weaker. I think two things are happening that make us think that this league is weaker. One, Liverpool is just crapping the bed, and so is Chelsea. So we think, it's a down year. They have been replaced wholesale by Man United and Newcastle.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
So I don't think it's actually weaker. I just think the teams that we got used to seeing on top, especially Liverpool, especially a Klopp Liverpool, are down. And secondly, you keep seeing Man City not on top. Man City is 2 points off of where they were last year and 4 points ahead of where they were 2 years ago. Both times they won the Premier League. So Arsenal's on top, and Liverpool and Chelsea have fallen down the table. So everyone goes, see, the table isn't doing this good. You have to go back to, I think, 1920. Yeah, I think it was the 1920 season. I have a team that had more points after 19 matches than Arsenal at this point. So this whole it's not a strong thing. I think we're seeing some turnover. So that's number one. I do not like this idea that Man City's having a down year because they're not in the lead. I think that is completely up to just how good Arsenal have been. If you had told Pep right now after 20 matches you could have 45 points, he'd say, "Okay, great." I don't see it. I really don't see it. Yes, they've had some surprising results.
Yeah.
But Man United is on the way up. Brentford is taking points off of every one of the top six. The only ones they haven't done is Arsenal. They've only played Arsenal once. So that could happen again. I don't think they're going to go into the Emirates and do that, but it could. Apart from that, they're taking points off everybody in the top six. The Newcastle thing seemed like, Man City's falling off. No, Newcastle's just really good, especially at getting draws. And by the way, everyone was firing on all cylinders for that Man City match.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing with the Haaland part to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a big thing that's going on with Haaland is he has made them not necessarily lazier, but they're more one-dimensional.
Okay. Yeah.
You saw that not be the case in the Spurs match when they put 4 in.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that be the case in the Wolves match, but it was Wolves. You saw that be the case in the Man United match, the second Manchester derby. And Man United are able to do it. But it's getting to the point of just Get in the box near Haaland. As long as you do those things, it's fine. And that was never how City played. Yes, is City maybe not pressing forward as much? Yeah, I could buy that.
Yeah.
But City presses as a team always, and you're not going to come out the middle just because Haaland's being a little lazier than whoever else they had in there. And then actually the last point, and this is not my point, this is Pep's point, so I trust him. I think a lot of it's the hunger. He talked about it. He won 4 straight La Ligas.
Yep.
And the hunger just wasn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask all these City people right now, you asked this question in a slightly different form last podcast or a couple podcasts ago. Champions League or Premier League?
Mm-hmm.
They've won 4 out of 5 Premier Leagues. They want the Champions League more than anything.
Yeah.
They'll turn on for that. They'll absolutely turn on for that. I mean, look at what – yes, they kind of had an easy time of it, and yes, they didn't have the best fixtures, the Dortmund draw, the Copenhagen draw.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the knockout stages, I think they're going to be in for it, and I think that's where you're going to see all of it go.
So I think it was this is what I've heard from an American football standpoint too, is that, you just win the Super Bowl. And now is it better to keep the same core that you have or bring in a few players that still have that drive and hunger, that want to also still win a Super Bowl. They didn't have that. I think that's where we saw from the Rams. I know I'm going on a side tangent here, but I think that they brought back the same core and they were like, okay, we did it. We've already done it. They're like, man, we could do it again, right? I think maybe some of that is kind of complacency is what I'm getting at. Some of the players getting complacent.
They did
in the
get
Premier
complacent.
League.
And I don't know if it's complacency with Liverpool because they didn't win a bunch of what they set out to win last year.
Yeah.
Brief aside, then we're getting off the NFL. The Rams' biggest problem this year was injuries. It just was. They just got injured constantly. Everybody. Which is also Liverpool's problem.
Yeah.
Everybody was injured. Now everyone's back, and they're so far behind. I think they may be doing the same thing. Like, if we want Champions League next year, we have to win the Champions League this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way we're going to do it.
Yep.
Although Chelsea's going to be saying the same thing. So, this idea of Man City worse, statistically, they're exactly where they should be. Statistically, they're playing exactly as well as they have over the past several seasons.
Yep.
It's just there's a team above them now, and we're not used to that. And everyone goes, oh. But the team above them is not playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I'll say it. They're in Europa. They're playing in the European competition. But it's not the Champions League. They got knocked out of the EFL Cup.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens in the FA Cup on Friday.
Yeah.
But you also have a young, very hungry core that had Champions League ripped away from them last year and decided we're not going to do that anymore.
It's drive and complacency. It's a balance that managers also have to do. And,
I mean, when was the last time the Yankees, last time I can think of anyone winning 4 out of 5 of anything?
Oh, God.
And even then, they didn't win 4 out of 5. They 98, 99, 2000.
They
went in 01.
Yeah.
Went in 03.
Yeah.
It's very, very rarely do you ever have a team that has a core that is that dedicated, Mm-hmm. Sorry, I know we're done with the NFL. We're not. Tom Brady. But Tom Brady's crazy.
Well,
he's insane. Yeah, that's why he can do it. Everyone else gets complacent. And I don't even know if complacency is the right word. I'm not focusing on this because I'm focusing on this.
Distracted.
Anyway. Yeah, I guess distracted. And at the end of the day, if Man City come in second but win the Champions League,
I mean, I think they'd still be happy with that.
Who's
if
not
I was
happy
a City
with
fan,
won
I'd
the
be
Champions League?
Yeah, exactly.
You win 4 out of 5 leagues, and then you win the Champions League the next year. Who the hell's not happy? I'm happy. Saying this as a guy who's never watched his team win the Champions League. I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
That's insanity to me.
Yeah. I'd have to watch highlights of 1982 in order to watch Champions League.
I love the potatoes I found with. Anyway, on to the other team that played in that match. Another question. This one we're stealing from The Athletic wholesale. Yeah. By the way, like, subscribe, and comment to hear all of our thoughts on what The Athletic and Tifo put out. This is a bit of an interesting one. I'm going to change it a little bit. The question is, will a team meeting revive Spurs' season? I think that the better question is, do Spurs have what they need right now to get back into the Champions League? Because that is what I hear when I hear revive. They're out of the title race.
Yeah.
So Champions League or bust. They're sitting fifth. They get European football next year. You know, they're another one that I think a lot of people are saying they're having a horrible season. The numbers I just put out, they would have been in the Champions League spot last year. So
it's tough. You know, like they're not – the problem is they're not playing exciting soccer. And I think a lot, like, they only have a 9-goal differential. I know, I see that.
Don't steal my points. Don't steal my points. That was my point. I found that.
Oh, fine. Sorry. I'll read what I said.
I'm kidding. Go for it.
That Man United, I know they have a 7-goal differential, but if you look at the top three, 29, 33, 22, they're playing exciting brand football.
Huge drop off to 7 and 9. Oof.
And then Brighton has 10, and they're behind them by 5 points. So I could see why Spurs fans are unhappy with the way they're playing, the brand of soccer that they're playing, but they're still in 5th behind teams who are potent. And maybe they're better than the teams that are behind them, and that's, you know, that margin right there. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it with this transfer window, but I think they need better defenders. I think it's their defense that's killing them. It's not their midfield. It's not their attacking. It's their defense that's killing them.
I agree. I think I don't agree with attacking. I think attacking is killing them. I think Son dropping off is enormous, and you cannot discredit that. His drop off it's like he fell off a cliff. Now, you went out and got Richarlison for if and when this happens.
Yeah.
What the heck's happening with that?
Well, he had an injury with his hamstring just after the World Cup, too. So he's probably been recovering from that. And then they hijacked the whole Danjuma from Everton, which good for him. He chose the better of the two. He doesn't have to live with that toxicity of Everton. But
if he kept Everton up, he gets a statue.
Oh my God, probably. He gets to own.
I think the other thing is Lloris is having a huge drop-off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's get your head screwed on straight. He was a defending World Cup champ going back into the World Cup. I don't know if that – I know he's getting older, but we saw this with Tom Brady, again, all the time. He's just getting talked about a lot in this podcast.
Right.
Oh, this is the time. Every time it's a bad day, this time he's getting old, and then, like, you just turn it back on. I don't know if Lloris just needs to turn it back on.
Man, maybe.
I think this is twofold. I think people are looking at this wrong. Spurs are not having a bad season. In fact, at one point, they were having the statistically best start to their season that they've ever had. I think 7 matches or 8 matches in.
Yeah.
There are 2 things that are happening. One, Arsenal are on top of the league, and to a Spurs fan, that is ash in your mouth. And 2, Conte wins everywhere he goes. And he's not winning in the Premier League when he used to. Now, that being said, who has Conte won in the Premier League with? I mean, they would just go by whoever they wanted. So he's not getting that now in Spurs. So everyone's saying, we got Conte. Arsenal were crap last year. We dogged him at the end. Man City maybe got worse. They're going to be looking at this. Liverpool, looking at the Champions League. Liverpool's going to be tired. Chelsea's got a management crisis going on. Man United doesn't know, their left from their right, from their up to start the season.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, guys, this is our chance. Mm-hmm. And now, Ten Hag has been exactly what Man United need. And, I don't know why I have to keep saying this. Eddie Howe is a really, really good manager who just needed a good team and a decent amount of backing.
Yep.
You could fit the entirety of Bournemouth Stadium into one of the stands that Newcastle play at. It's night and day the size of those clubs. He just needed a big club. He's always been a good team. The Mikel Arteta project is taken off, and Pep was not going to let Man City ever be that bad. Mm-hmm. And now they're looking at it going, crap, we're fifth. We're having a horrible season. And yes, this is the first time that Arsenal have taken the double on you in like 9 years. But again, that's more of Arsenal's team than it is your team. And Conte is good, but he's not a magic worker.
No.
Look what happened to Inter when he left. Inter was upside down when he left.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of reminds me of like a Dombrowski, the GM who comes in, sells the farm, puts the team upside down, but hey, we're going to win trophies. And everyone's okay with it because, hey, they won trophies.
Yeah.
And Conte isn't the silver bullet, and especially not in the Premier League. I understand that there are good managers everywhere. But when this season started, you had Tuchel at Chelsea, you have Pep, you have Eric Ten Hag, you had Conte, you had Unai Emery jumped back at this the second he had a chance to come back and is doing amazing. He has learned a lot. And also, he was in a very bad spot at Arsenal when he was here. I do not think a lot of that was his fault.
Rebound.
No, we had the whole we had bad player development choices. We had bad support. We were giving bad contracts to bad people. And then you have Mikel Arteta, who, yes, hasn't actually managed anywhere else, but all he did was learn under Arsene Wenger and then go be an assistant to Pep Guardiola for like a bunch of those 4 out of 5 league titles.
Yeah.
He hasn't managed anywhere else, and yes, it's different being the guy. Lampard and Gerrard will tell you right now it's different being the guy.
Yeah.
But he's learned everywhere, and he's proving to be a very good manager. Mm-hmm. Most people do whatever they can to come here. And once they're here, they don't want to leave. Pep's been here for longer than he's been. Well, he was at Bayern for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been at City since 15, 16?
Something like that.
It's been a long time. Jurgen Klopp, and I know it's 7 years, but Jurgen Klopp's been here for 7 years. Sorry, I forgot about Klopp. I knew there was someone else I was missing. Look at the managers that these people have.
Yeah.
It's insane. And whenever a Premier League spot opens up, it doesn't even have to be the Big Six.
Mm-mm.
Whenever a Premier League spot opens up, most managers will jump.
I mean, look at Wolves. They go and get Lopetegui.
Lopetegui.
I gotcha.
Is it Lopetegui?
Lopetegui.
I have no idea. And it's not that it's just not something I'm given to. Anyway, you are exactly right. I mean, look at Everton. They're trying to get Bielsa back.
Yep.
Which we have thoughts on. But speaking of Everton, West Ham Everton, we were deprived of El Sackico earlier when the Queen died.
Mm.
We got it, West Ham Everton, and it delivered because Lampard has been shown the door.
Yep.
I don't know if it's too little, but it's definitely probably could be too late.
Yeah, I don't know. I did the math, and there's still something like 69 points if they win every game.
We're halfway through the season. There's plenty of time, especially with how tight the bottom half is. I don't think it's too late. It feels too late, but I don't think it's actually too late.
It doesn't help them that they've been this bad for this long, and there hasn't been any reinforcements either. I mean, they tried and failed. I think it's going to be really hard for them to try to bring in anybody with how much disarray at this club is going on. They don't have a coach. The CEOs and the board don't know how to run this.
Lying about stuff, maybe not lying about stuff.
I don't know.
Maybe not reporting stuff to the police. Maybe they're up for sale. Maybe they're not.
If I'm hearing this, if I'm a player and I'm hearing all this news, it dissuades me. I'm not going there. Even the players that are currently here, I'm like, I'd be like, man, I'm not really interested in playing right now.
It's got to
Anthony
be
Gordon's
hard.
going to get sold, possibly.
Well, apparently he didn't show up for training.
He put out a long Instagram things saying, hey, like, thank you, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that does sound like he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just real quick, wind it back. This is another reason why it feels like it's such a weak year. West Ham, Everton, and Leicester being this bad.
Now
other teams have been this good. Yeah, but Southampton's been bad, kind of back and forth. They flirted with the bottom half.
Right, I get it, but they'd never actually sat last.
Yeah, everyone was expecting Forest and Fulham and Brentford to all be in relegation battle.
Yeah.
Turns out Fulham and Brentford very good. They just took the other team's spots. It wasn't like they were weak. Anyway, with Everton, I don't know. Like Bielsa, I think would be a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, he has come out and said, "No, I don't want your players. You need to sign some more speed."
I wouldn't either. If the only way that you get me to coach Everton is exactly what Villa did sales pitch wise for Unai, is you have full control of who you want to bring in. This is whatever you want. Here's the money. I don't care, and as long as you make our club better, that's the only way you're gonna really bring in a coach.
Well, and you have 6 days, 5 days.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, 5 days to go get people. All your moves are getting hijacked.
Yeah.
You don't have the system in place.
Nope.
And that's something else.
Oh God, I didn't
even
think about that. It takes
times to do that. It's one of the things that drives me so crazy about United. United can just get people always.
Yeah. Same with Chelsea.
They just buy people. Well, Chelsea will just pay through the nose.
United
will go like poach Eriksson and Casemiro, and it'll be exactly what they need for a good price. Now they're eating it on the Antony one so far.
Yeah.
But with Ten Hag as his manager, everybody's going to figure that out. I don't know. I look at this team. We talk about this team every week. I look at this team. A decent manager has to be able to get this team to stay up. With what's ahead of them, if they win their next 3 matches, which I mean they won't because their next one's against Arsenal, but if they win 3 out of the next 4, or if they win 2 out of the next 4, that's 6 points. If they got 6 points right now, they'd be in 13th, just like that.
Yep.
Maybe 14th on goal differential. I'm not doing the math, but it would be like that.
Yep.
They are so. I really think they're just a decent manager away, and I understand why Bielsa says these people aren't going to play the way I want, and by the way, I'm just going to wait for what I want. Like Pochettino isn't going to jump at this because Pochettino hasn't accepted anybody. I don't know what he's waiting for, but it's something. But any kind of decent manager, I really, really think could be able to get this team to perform. I don't think Lampard was that good. I have never thought Lampard was that good.
God, no.
Yes, he had the whole Derby County thing. And yes, he was supposed to be the golden boy when he came back to Chelsea, but none of that happened. And I don't think he is incapable. I think he just has a lot to learn. Mm-hmm. I don't know what his career looked like after he stopped playing professionally, but I don't think he had Pep dump a bunch of ideas into his head for a while.
No, by the way, obviously
people have said Arteta has been this way forever, so I don't think it was just Pep, but still, Pep definitely helped.
Well, yeah.
I also wonder if Lampard and Gerrard are just like those old boys.
Oh, for sure.
Like, guys, just go beat the other team. Go be bigger. Be stronger. Win the ball.
Be like I was. That's what it is.
And you have a very tactical league in front of you right now.
Who was it? Michael Beale, I want to say, was one of the assistants for Gerrard, and he went and hopped off to QPR. QPR did really well. I think they were sitting top 3 of the championship, and now he got hired to go coach the Rangers. So what that tells me is Gerrard at that point in time was not really the manager. He didn't yes, you listen to your assistant coaches and stuff like that. You take advice. Ultimately, it comes down to you. I just think he's like, here, you're the coach. You deal with this.
Maybe it depends what his skill set is. If his skill set was tactics, I don't watch enough Villa to know. Their tactics fell off. But if his skill set was tactics and Gerrard's was not, or if his skill set was man to man and Gerrard's was not, I don't know. So I think Everton's going down because I think Everton's not going to be smart enough to get themselves out of this hole. No. I think Everton's very, very capable of staying up. Anyway, on to the next match. Last match that we want to talk about before we introduce a new segment that we're excited about. Crystal Palace, Newcastle.
Yeah.
Last 5 league matches, Newcastle have drawn 3 of them. Leeds, Arsenal, and Palace.
Yep.
Leeds likes to play up. I'm not that surprised. Arsenal, I watched that match.
I'm sure you did.
Newcastle was never going to score. Newcastle wanted a 0-0.
Yeah.
They knew that's what they had to do, and that's what they went and did. And they're the only team to take points off of Arsenal at the Emirates, so it worked. But this Palace match is worrying.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'm not saying this team's become complacent, but has the league figured them out? Have they? I don't know. Figured them out is the wrong word. Figured them out was the wrong statement. Is this a mid-season lull? Like, they aren't winning with the same type of flourish that they were prior to the World Cup. They have 9 draws, and you know what? A point's a point. You win. You got 9 points. That's three wins. I don't know. They've been also in cup games here recently, and they're still in a cup. I think the EFL Carabao Cup right now.
Still? Yep, they just beat Southampton in the first leg.
So they're still running in that. Maybe they are getting a little tired. I don't know.
I think they are. I think the problem, and it's funny, I mentioned earlier I want to talk about the one-man mentality. I forgot to bring this up. I'm going to bring this up with Holland, which is going to be my other point on why people should get off Holland. It has been a decade since the Golden Boot winner also won the league.
Really? No, that's wild.
It's been a decade. The modern league right now, where we're at, you do not win the Golden. You don't have one guy score all your goals.
Well, fair.
And I'm not saying that one guy was scoring all your goals from Newcastle, but Bruno, he came off crying, and I know he's playing, but he's not playing well.
Not really.
I don't know if he's trying to play through something.
Probably.
Almiron cooled down.
100%.
Callum Wilson is still Callum Wilson and is not going to be on all the time.
Punk.
You know, I think you're right. I think it is just a lull. I think the other thing with Newcastle that we're almost, again, looking at it backwards. You bring up all these draws. That's 100% true, but they're tied for the most draws in the league with Brentford at 9.
Yeah.
And no other team has more than 6.
Mm-hmm.
They draw a lot. They have 1 loss. Them and Arsenal are the only teams with 1 loss, but they have 9 draws to Arsenal's 2. That's the difference. They draw a lot. They know how to not give up bad goals.
Yeah.
And they know how to always stay in games, which is why they're in the top 4, and they very well may stay there because of that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the Crystal Palace thing, although Palace is just a wild card right now.
That's true.
I have no idea what's going on with Palace. They look awful, and then they look fine.
I think they look fine for just 1 spec. Like, if they get a draw, that's that 1 spec against, teams that are higher up the table.
Well, in back-to-back matches, they did just draw 2 of the top 4.
Yep.
Now, that was a wonder goal against United.
Oh, God, it was so gorgeous.
Just an absolute wonder goal. You cannot rely on that. But
you ever see Jesse Marsh do – I can't remember. It was a meme where he got a text from his wife like, "Why do you do the things you do?" And it's a celebration. He goes like, "This the whole time through." That's what I would have been doing if I saw Elise hit that goal.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, on to our new segment. This is a new segment. If you were watching this as a clip on Wiki Good Sports, because that is a plan, please head over to our main channel, Swinging at Shins, our main channel for this podcast, Swinging at Shins, to watch it in its entirety. But this is a new clip. We are calling it True False. We're going to take turns reading out statements. Very original name, I know. We're going to take turns reading out statements, and the other person is going to say whether or not that statement is true, false, and why. True or false, and why.
Mind you, we have no idea what each person has said. This is not on our notes. I have no idea what he's saying, and he has no idea what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're using Brian as an in-between. So here we are. I'm going to allow you to go first.
Oh, that's gracious.
I will break the ice with this.
I appreciate it.
What are we doing?
All right, so Brendan Rodgers keeps his job for the rest of the season. True or false?
True. True only because there are worse teams below him, so I don't think he's going to get that close to relegation. And if you're going to replace him, you need to have someone in line, and I have no idea who that person would be right now.
The only reason I think they would keep him currently is to still bring in players. And I don't know how it works with I should actually read up on this. Never mind. I was thinking how coaches' rules and stuff like that, if coach is allowed to come in anytime they want. And obviously that's the case because Aston Villa
they absolutely can come in whenever they want.
But I think if they were to sack him, it would be after the window closes because they still want to get players in with some certainty of having a coach at that point.
God, yeah, but that ruins your reputation.
As a ownership, yes, and I don't think
they're the people who actually write the checks.
I don't think this ownership will do that. I think this is actually a good ownership, a wholesome ownership anyway, for sure.
Yeah. No, the answer for me is true because I don't know who else would take his job.
I agree.
Right, here's the first one for you.
Hit me.
Chelsea has spent $400 million.
They have.
And reports are saying that Bowley wants to go to at least 5 with 2 more signings. Will Chelsea make a Europa League spot? Now, right now that is 5th, possibly 6th.
Yep.
If a Champions League or Europa League team wins the FA Cup.
I'm going to go with true. I'm going true. I obviously think that it looks bad right now, but they've brought in a whole bunch of youth with those players, and Mudryk looks good. Badia Shield has played, and he looks good. They still have, and what we're forgetting is that we're halfway through the season still, and that it's going to extend all the way till May. So they're going to get players back like N'Golo Kante. He'll come back around March and push for starts. Well, he'll start immediately once he gets fit. You have, give me a second. I don't know which players are actually out. I shouldn't. They're not my team. They've still got, everybody in that fact. Raheem Sterling, he'll probably come back around the end of February, March, beginning of March. Dennis Sakari. There we go. We'll get there eventually.
He's been on and off.
He'll probably come back in end of March. Ben Chilwell and Reece James probably end of February. So you're going to get quality back.
All those things are great. Here's my issue. I'm going to read off numbers for you. This is why I say it's false. 45, 53, 33, 32, 40, 37, 32, 32, 34, and 22.
What do those numbers mean?
Those are goals scored by the top 10 teams in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. One of them is 10 less than the next closest, and less than half of the league leaders. And it's Chelsea. And the one thing they haven't done is go get a goal scorer. They have a goal differential of 1 halfway through the season. That is not good enough. Anyway, hit me with your next one.
The next one. Eddie Howe is coach of the year.
It's a good one.
Yeah, right.
It's a good one. I'm going to say false.
Yeah.
Not because he's not deserving, but just because I'm really starting to believe if Arsenal win the Premier League this year, Mikel Arteta has to be coach of the year. However, I also think that Newcastle is going to drop off a bit and end up in 4th or maybe even 5th. If it ended right now, I think Eddie Howe would be coach of the year, and I'd be absolutely fine with that.
I still think, okay. I don't know how I feel the same way when I ask this question about myself too. For this one, it's tough because last year they sat 19th, and they got Eddie Howe, and he got to implement, and he stayed up.
They spent money too.
They spent money. They got Alexander Isak. They got I'm not sure. Oh, Nick Pope, which is a great goalkeeper, by the way. Love that guy. And they're holding a lot more clean sheets. They're holding a lot more opponents to less goals.
The less goals thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting fact. They've let in 11 goals. Arsenal let in 16. From expected goals, Arsenal's actually a better defensive team.
That's crazy.
It doesn't matter about expected goals. It matters what you're doing.
Yep.
And having that, and I take expected goals with a grain of salt. Man City always outperform their expected goals. And they do it so often that it's not a fluke. They're just getting the most out of what they have options for.
Yeah.
And I think Newcastle is defending better in the last moments.
Yeah, they don't lose their head, for sure.
So to reword it a little bit back to you, if the season ended right now, Eddie Howe would be manager of the year. We're halfway through the season. I think that enough's going to change halfway through the season that he won't be anymore. So let's say this: if Mikel Arteta and Arsenal play the second half of the season exactly the same way they played the first, I'm not saying they're going to, but if they do, and Mikel Arteta turns Arsenal into centurions, he has to be the manager of the year.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but between the fact that I think Arsenal's going to maintain, and we just talked about Newcastle falling off.
Yeah.
That's why my answer is false.
No,
I love Eddie Howe, though.
Yeah. No, he's been.
And if you don't believe me and you're listening on the clip, listen to the full podcast. I was literally just singing his praises. I love Eddie Howe. I think he's a fantastic manager. I wanted to get him before we got Arteta. So, I think everyone who just recently had a manager leave wanted Eddie Howe. All right. Here's a bit of a wild card.
Ooh, love it.
And I kind of wish I asked you this before. I just went and explained why Haaland's actually really good.
Oops.
Martin Odegaard will win Player of the Year.
False. And I don't think it's because Haaland. It very well could be because he is a great goal. What people like to see is goal scoring. Goal scoring is such a big stat. I think people are blind to the other peripherals that players do. I actually think that Saka would be.
Interesting. I did not expect that.
I just think he's done a lot of the right things. He's scored goals. He's been extremely good he's been well on the press. He's been assisting players. He's been a menace all over the field. I think that he's just been a more well-rounded player than Odegaard has.
Yeah, okay. I would argue that Odegaard is definitely the heartbeat, but I'm okay with that. I think it's false because I think it's going to be Haaland still. I don't know how you come in and score that many goals and you don't get it. He's just blowing everything up.
I don't blame that. I don't think it's Odegaard. I think it's somebody else.
Fair enough. I mean, that was the question. All right, what's your last one?
All right. So Fulham have Fulham been outperforming their current position on the table? Fulham have been. I'm sorry. Drop that. Switch to have. True or false? Have they been outperforming their position on the table?
True, but I still think they're a top 10 team.
Okay.
I think if you take Liverpool's early injury crisis away, Liverpool's above them. I actually I'm surprised every time I see this. I really think Brentford should be above them too. I think when the season ends with the way Chelsea have signed everybody and the way Villa are playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see both of those teams above them.
Yeah.
But I do not think that Fulham has been outperforming by a lot. I know no one expected them to be the top half of the table. I would not have put them in the top half of the table if I actually wrote out predictions. But I'm starting to think, hey, they're actually this good of a team.
Yeah.
And by the way, Marco Silva is actually that good of a manager. So
I think the lowest position that they should finish is 12th. Like, if everything...
I'd say 11th. I
don't blame
you.
Just
because they should finish above Crystal Palace at this point.
I was flip-flopping around, and I was trying to figure it out, and I think somewhere in that 11-12 range is definitely still a good season for them. And, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, last one for you, sir.
Yep.
The bottom three teams are Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton.
Yes.
That is exactly how we see the bottom three teams at the end of the season. True or false?
You know what's funny is I thought about asking this same question. It's true. The only other team I think that would be a problem, West Ham need to show me more, first off. It was a good start with the 2-0 win. They needed that. Forest have done good bringing their players together to get some cohesiveness, which is...
I'm not hearing a certain team. Have I finally brought you over?
Has that what?
I said I'm not hearing a certain team. Have I finally brought you over?
I don't know, man. The problem with Wolves... The problem with Wolves is Daniel Podence has been the only person scoring.
I was going to say the problem with the Wolves is they've scored the least amount of goals by a lot.
Yeah, so if they could sit 17th, man, and that's just how they get and stay up. But I could see this being true.
I think it's true. I actually went through it now. I did not think Odegaard's going to be player of the year. I made that clear. But I kind of went through and did this is what I think. I want to hear you defend the opposite. That's how I came up with these statements. I looked at this and I went Southampton, Everton, Bournemouth. Yeah, that's what it's going to look like. Because those are the three teams in the worst position to fix themselves. Wolves already made great strides. Bournemouth is a sinking ship. Yes, they had that great run of form for a little bit, but they are just all the way back down. We already heard why Everton isn't going to do anything. Yeah. And Southampton is proving right now that they're just going to go to the championship and rely on the academy.
Look, I told you the only reason that they went and signed Nathan Jones was because they're going down.
Yeah.
They need a coach. It's a totally different beast being down in the championship. You play 44 matches or 46 matches, and it's 2 games every week. You need a coach that knows how to coach down there. It's a totally
West
different
Ham,
breed.
I do not think David Moyes is a great manager, but West Ham he's a good enough manager. I don't think he's a relegation manager.
Yep.
Leeds has been linked with McKennie. I think Marsh is good. He gets results against the bigger teams.
Mm-hmm.
They will figure out the other ones, but he's getting results against the bigger teams.
I think if
Leicester's
they
too
bring
good to go down. I said that when Leicester was down in the bottom for the first half. I'm like, there's no way. Leicester's too good to go down.
Yep. Agreed.
Now, when they get their bones picked over in the summer, who knows? And I think Nottingham Forest has shown me enough.
Yep.
I really do. Now, it's still really tight, and things could happen. An injury crisis happens at a certain team. Who the heck knows?
Right.
But for me, I think that the table is fair, that the 3 teams that are in the worst position to move on are the 3 teams that are currently in the bottom half of the table.
I will say Bournemouth has done some business in the transfer window here. They signed a couple players, an attacker, and there was talks. I don't remember what Fabrizio had said, but they are trying to improve themselves. They're not just being stagnant.
Transfer window has been crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So the Premier League starts back up on February 3rd.
Yep.
Everton and Arsenal, I know, are in that. Do we have any other marquee games to look forward to?
Of course, Villa.
Who did Villa play? Looks like
it's
Chelsea,
Leicester City.
Fulham.
So
Chelsea, Fulham on Friday. Leicester City. Ooh, little inter-house rivalry going on over there.
It's a Midlands derby, yeah. And also inter-house rivalry because if people don't know, my girlfriend's a Leicester fan. So
Brentford, Southampton, Brighton, Bournemouth, United Palace, Wolves, Liverpool could be sneaky.
Ooh.
Newcastle, West Ham, Leeds, Forest would be interesting.
Yeah.
And already we got Tottenham against Man City again.
Let's go. Retake.
This time at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the toilet bowl. So, all right, guys, that is going to be it for us. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and you're still here, thank you very much. Please like, please subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Spotify or anywhere else that podcast can be found. Thank you very much. Please leave us a review, hit us with a comment. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. I'm pretty sure that's it. I don't think we have a Twitter. I have enough accounts on my phone right now. If you like Aston Villa or like talking and listening about teams, or just like Aaron, please go check out the Villa. That's on the Wicked Good Sports channel. Links in the description below. I talk Arsenal on the Way West Stand, as mentioned above. We did not talk about Villa on this podcast because we had a bunch of other things that we wanted to get into.
Yep.
However, they won again.
Yes, sir.
Moving on up. I think they're going to be a top half of the table.
Yep.
Unai's a great manager. I think he's doing exactly what you need. For all your other sports need, Wicked Good Sports. Cover football, hockey, basketball, baseball, the whole 9 yards. Aaron and I, because we don't have enough going on, and there's no way that March is going to be busy at all for the Premier League. Probably going to be covering the World Baseball Classic, too, when that happens. So if you like us, you can see an awful lot of us.
Yes,
but for right now, I think that's it for Match Week 21.
In the books.
You wore your USA 21 shirt to commemorate it. I love it. Now you got to buy a 22 one.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Is there somebody who's 22? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but my brain's kind of mush, and I got to go talk Arsenal. So, for everybody, thank you very much for listening.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. Links for anything that you could be interested in, whether it's the YouTube channel, our podcast links, our social media links, everything's in the description below. Thank you very much for listening.